Here, how's everybody doing today? So we are going to dive into why we seek approval. And I think all of us are raising our hand and going, I do that. Approval seeking behaviors. Why do we struggle with that? So what I'm going to do through this whole conversation is I'm going to walk you through the big why. I'm going to walk you through an example, and then I'm going to share with you some ideas so that you can find yourself in a much healthier position, than maybe where you're at right now. And that's the journey of life, right? That's the journey of life, of growing, of looking at how can I overcome challenges? How can I learn from my mistakes? How can I be my biggest cheerleader? How can I support others? Right? And I can go on, and you're like, all right, that's enough. Let's dive into, why do I seek approval from others? And I've got some notes down here, so bear with me as far as moving my eyes. So there are root causes to it, and it's not just one thing. And overall, it's connected to self-esteem, right? So the reason that we engage in approval-seeking behaviors, we seek approval from life, from others, is because of our self-esteem. So I want you to keep that one in mind. Write it down. Self-esteem, big circle on there. Other reasons could be our upbringing, and we were raised in a certain way. It could be our culture. Maybe there are cultural dynamics in there that integrated in our way of thinking. It could be external relationships that we've had. Maybe you met somebody, you were in a relationship for years and it was toxic, and that led to certain behaviors being developed, right? And then now you find yourself in a position where you're seeking approval, but not in the best way. It's hurting your life, hurting your relationship. So I asked you to write down self-esteem. And I did that on purpose because overall, when it comes to what causes us to seek approval, it is right there. That is, you're shooting an arrow. That's the bullseye. Self-esteem, low self-esteem. But before we talk about low self-esteem, let's talk about what self-esteem is. And these are some definitions I pulled out. Self-esteem is how much you appreciate yourself, how much you like yourself. So that's important to think about, because when we seek approval, it's usually due to us not liking something about ourselves, us not liking, what we're doing, how we're navigating life, or so forth. So I want you to think about that in connection to self-esteem. Self-esteem also has to do with our confidence in ourselves. How confident are you in you? How confident are you in your self-worth? How confident are you in your abilities to do things, your self-respect? So those are areas you can look at as far as self-esteem. And then there's that relationship. You've got approval-seeking behaviors and you got your self-esteem. And they are like these two twins that go hand in hand. Because if I'm struggling with a low self-esteem, more than likely I'm also going to struggle with, I'm going to find myself in a position of seeking approval. And maybe you're thinking about, how or why. How does that make sense? So let's use an example. I love examples that have to do with life so that it makes sense. And you're probably hearing my dog, Riddle. Riddle, you want to calm down a little bit so we can we can do this video? All right. So with this example I'm going to share with you, I want you to think about people pleasers, right? That statement there, people pleaser. So let's say you find yourself in a situation where you're hanging out with a group of people and you're talking about your way of fishing, right? And you're sitting there, you're saying, hey guys, listen, I like to put the hook this way and the worm on there this way. And then everyone's kind of going in a different direction, right? Everyone's not really liking that. And that makes you feel upset. That makes you feel attacked. So you start taking it as a personal attack, as if something's wrong with you. And maybe you even shift and get away from it and say, that wasn't the best idea. So what happened there is that before this whole interaction took place, you were all about that fishing strategy. And I know I'm using a random one here because I like to fish. So you were all about that fishing strategy. It connected to you. And the minute that you went into that group and you interacted with others, and you could throw in whatever variable you want, it doesn't have to be this fishing story. The minute you interacted with others, you found yourself feeling judged, feeling attacked, feeling hurt inside, feeling insulted because they didn't, they weren't vibing with you. They didn't like that. They didn't think it was the best approach. And then that may have even led you to then let go of that approach, right? Before any of that went down, you were all about that fishing. And now that they're not about it, they're not really, on the same page as you are. They're sharing an opinion, which we're able to do. They're doing that. It's creating this like attack on you. So then you kind of find yourself in a situation of people pleasing, of letting go of your belief, of taking a step back. So that's where, we look at, why did I do that? And the why has to do with self-esteem, because our self-esteem, right? Our self-esteem can go up or down. We want to make sure we work on it like a muscle. So it's your bicep. Keep it strong. So when our self-esteem is low, that bicep's getting a little bit, it's not as strong as it should be. and we're more vulnerable in certain situations. And it would be in that situation with a low self-esteem, right? Because the definition of the self-esteem is your worth, right? Your self-respect, your ability to believe in yourself. It's how much you appreciate yourself. It's how much you like yourself. So if you're in that situation and you were about that fishing, strategy, and you're letting it go because you're engaging in that people pleasing, because you feel judged, because you feel attacked, because you want them to like it, you want to gain their approval. That feels so much better. And you want to gain their approval to raise your self-esteem. So now you're caught up in this really murky water, because it's important for us to remember self-esteem. What's that first word? Self. That's your self-esteem, not dependent on others. If we find ourselves in a situation that our self-esteem is being raised by others, we're kind of in a tough situation, because we are at the mercy of others now, and our life will always be a yo-yo. So I hope this video was helpful. And as you walk away, I want you to think about, if you are in a position where you're looking at reducing approval-seeking behaviors, watch some more videos I'm going to share with you, but also take time to look at ways to build your self-esteem. There's lots of videos here on the YouTube channel that can be helpful, or you can work with a counselor in your local area, or you can reach out, whether me or one of the counselors of the practice. If you're in the area, we'll be happy to help. Take time to build that muscle, build that bicep, build that self-esteem. I know that you can do it. I believe in you. And most importantly, you believe in yourself.